Good morning, Naftali. Can you hear me? Naftali. I didn't sit down yet. I gotta wait for him to put his headphones in. Yeah. Naftali, can you hear me?
You.
Okay. All right. You're the only one on Zoom, so that's why I didn't want to start until I knew someone could hear me. Then one of the person here, Moshe Tehrani, it's wonderful to start without talking to myself. All right. Thank Hashem for the ability to learn and try and bring Mashiach quickly. And we learned this list of all those Helech and Neshamas that we're waiting for them to come back. Zavagoda Bas Baruch Ben Yamin, and I still can't remember Zevi's correct name, but Zevi Ben Sion. He's a wonderful kid. And then the other Neshamas, Elid Elias, Lashem Yerida back. And for Shlem to Rabbi's father and Druin's father, anybody that needs a Refor Shlemas, and bring back the rest of the Shuyim, the hostages from Eretz Yisrael. They shouldn't have any more tsar, and let's bring them back alive. Okay, we'll get started in one moment. Are you ready, Mei Bracha? We were half a daf behind yesterday when we finished. And since we're totally a daf behind, we're now 1.5 dafs behind of where we should start today. So I believe we're starting on 47b. Which line?
The top.
The what?
Abaya seeks to support his extinction.
Where is it? Give me a line.
Wow.
Wow. How far from the top?
I have us on the 5th line down from the top.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, Hada Ditnan?
No, I'm on Mem Zion Bays.
Yeah.
I'm on Mem Zion Bays.
Maybe it's 4 lines. No, it's 5 lines.
1, 2.
Lo hayu kovin oto.
Okay, Lo hayu kovin. All right. So the Mishnah says, Lo hayu kovin also b'kfuras abosov. That, all right, we had said that when the convicted person gets executed and then they go to bury him, that they had 2 cemeteries. They had one cemetery for the people that were burnt and stoned, and one cemetery, good morning, for the convicted that were convicted by the other ways, which was, chopping their head off and strangulation. Okay. Now, if you would have thought, this is the Havamina here, that once a convicted person is killed by the court, that it's in the state of an atonement. In other words, that killing caused a kapara. So why does a Mishnah say that they can't be buried with the rest of their family? They should be buried family plot. Likbare, in other words, let them be buried in the family plot because we consider them no longer wicked. That's the Havamina. That is the premise. The Gemara responds, Misa Kfura be'inan. No. Death and burial are necessary to attain atonement. So what does it mean, death and burial? I mean, they're dead already, so 50% is taken care of. And burial, that's what we're talking about. So no, what they mean is burial to the point that the body is already decomposing because it needs that kind of pain. Now, I have to stop a second. Do you realize that for the last few days, especially today and yesterday, we keep on talking about the corpse as if it's alive. We talk about the corpse, about its dignity, about its opinion. Everything we say about the corpse is as if it's, one of the litigants in this court case that we're discussing. It's gewaldic when you think about this. This is really awesome. If anyone ever questioned whether Judaism believes in life after death, these couple pages in Gemara shows that we're not even at Gan Eden or Olam Haba yet. The fact that this mace died and we're talking about its opinion, whether it considers it is being, shamed or things like that, when it's hung up, not hung up, this, that. It's just amazing thought. Anyway, just a side comment to come back with.
Devrei Rennie.
What?
Devrei Rennie.
Devrei Rennie. Naftali.
It's in the book.
It's in the book,
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
All right.
All right.
Which, by the way, that book is Chayiv Sreifa when it's all over. I don't want anybody read it. Masir Rav Acha Bar Ahava. All right. So Rav Ada Bar Ahava said, or he challenged from this, Lawyer Misablin. He says, wait a minute. We said that the relatives of this convicted person, they don't do avelis. They only are owning. They grieve. And grieving, it says here, she'ein aninus ela belev, is just a heartfelt feeling. All right? So it's not that they're ripping their clothes, and growing their, yes.
I think I mentioned yesterday. Did they say Kaddish too?
All right, we asked all right, Moshe asked yesterday, you have to remember, I'm not a Rav, and I don't know the answer.
Oh, you.
But Moshe asked a good question yesterday, is do they even say Kaddish? I don't know the answer. That halachic question's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's probably got a simple answer. If they consider Avelim, they say Kaddish. If they're own names, technically they don't say Kaddish, They don't even put on tefillin or daven when they're on. So I don't really know the answer, but for the halacha, we'll find out. Shannon is hella belief, all right. These Sakadatach Kavan, good morning. Kavan the Ikbor. Now, if it enter your mind to say, well, once they are buried, Havalei Kapara, then at that point, that's when the Kapara happens, Liburle. So then at that point, once they're buried, the family members should be able to mourn. So the Gemara answers, Bina Nami Ibu Basur. So Gemara answers that no, there's an additional item that's needed. The flesh of the corpse has to start to decompose. So that's also required. All right? The Gemara continues. Dika Nami. This can also be inferred from a precise reading in the Mishnah. So once you bring a raya proof to what we just said, that the kapara, the atonement, is not attained by the executed person, which is currently a corpse, until it slightly decomposes a little bit. The katani, for we learned in the Mishnah, Naftali, you have a question?
No.
Oh,
Please
okay.
go.
You're the only one who looks at me like you're listening. So when you look like that, I think you have a question. If you have a question, just raise it.
I am listening. You're
I
doing
know.
a great job.
Don't get shook. Don't get
Everybody
shook.
else, all
Don't
right?
get shook. Don't get shook.
I'm not getting shook. Okay, all right. The Katani Kasani, for the Mishnah states this Abel Habasar, this Akel Habasar, all right? The flesh had discomposed, Malakti Natsamas. At that point, they'll gather the bones, the Kamas of them come on. Oh, so it's interesting. It says in the Mishnah that once the body is decomposed, then the family member can gather the bones, and then they can disinter. Well, they obviously disinter the body, but they can now reinter the body, rebury the body in the family plot. We learn from this the convict achieve atonement with the decomposition of the bones. All right, and this can go in
decomposition of
the corpse. Right.
Right.
Well, actually, all the bones supposedly are supposed to decompose except for the loose bone. But here we're talking about just the flesh. All right. And I don't know about why we say that, considering when they find skeletons, they find the whole skeleton. But so no comment on that one. Ravashi, no comment to you, no comment that I don't have any answer to my own question. Ravashi says, Avelis me masaika matchelis. All right. So Ravashi has a question. So when does the period of Shiva start, all right? Mistimas Hagolo. It says from the moment the top of the casket is closed on the corpse. Wait a minute. Kapara Miemasai Kahabia. However, atonement is granted. Wait, when, however, is atonement, the kapara granted to the soul of this deceased? Mikachazor Tzara the Kabra Korta. He says only later on when the corpse has experienced a bit of pain in the grave. All right, so we say that initially the family is considered onanes, all right, which is the stage after the death, but prior to the usual kapara. Prior to the usual kavura burial, all right? So when they say here, when does this body attain atonement? He says the body attains it when he says, when do they start Shiva? From when the casket is closed. When does the body attain atonement? Once it starts to decompose. So the pain of the grave itself, that's a punishment, that brings kapara to the body. So we say that since this mourning period was pushed aside at its onset, Yitchu will remain pushed aside forever. All right. Whoa. Right. Since the convict's mourning period does not go into effect at its scheduled time, it becomes permanently canceled. According to the previous answer, once enough time passes for the flesh of convict's corpse to decompose, his relatives do mourn him. Right. I want to say just comment on this. This is very similar to what we learned yesterday about the two situations in Nidachas, a subverted city, and I forget the other one was the case where the guy went crazy after he designated the sacrifice, or he became a mumcha, a mumar. I say it in English again, an apostate. All right, and then we say even though he got better afterwards, that sacrifice can never be used. So it sounds similarly. He says once it's pushed aside at the onset, it's pushed aside forever. It just remind me of that. The Gemara questions Rav Ashi's premise that atonement is granted even before the corpse fully decomposes, right? Because that takes a period of time. So why does the court wait for the full composition of the convict's flesh? I say convict's flesh, of the person that was convicted of the sin, all right, to be transferred to his ancestral plot, all right, and this is just because of logistics, all right. A half decomposing body is very hard to pick up and go bury somewhere else. Wait till it's totally decomposed, and then all you have to do is gather the bones, like archaeologists do, and then bury the bones in the family plot. Mishum delo efshar. So he's saying because otherwise, before then, it's too hard to do. Kivri drav havo shaklim minei afar leishei bas yoma. All right, now bring a new story. So it happened that people would take earth from the grave of Rav to cure their 1 day old fever. So if someone was sick for a day and they had a fever, feed the fever, start the cold, they feed the fever with dirt. Not that they'd eat the dirt, they would take the dirt. I don't know what they did with it. Maybe put it on them somewhere and to treat themselves. Also, others came and reported this to Shmuel, and they said, whoa, you realize what's doing there? Isn't this holy dirt? You know, it's like they're taking it from the caver. You're not allowed to take things from the caver like that. Amr lahu Ya'as Abdin. He told them these people were acting properly. It's okay. Kaka olamu. The earth is a great, for the earth of a grave is part of the soil of the earth. And Kaka olam eina neseres. And the soil of the earth cannot become forbidden. Oh, so that's not only the answer, but it's a wonderful hector that we don't realize because we have this minhag, we have this custom, and we go to a cemetery, we visit a gravesite. When we leave a stone by there. And usually there's not enough stones left around. So we look for a stone that's on the ground and we take that stone and we put it there. And if you ever wonder where those stones come from, they probably came from a stone that was on another gravesite that maybe in the rain or wind got blown off is on the ground. So here we're using again, perhaps we should never use any stones that are on the ground there because they were from another gravesite. But stones are stones. They're just like the dirt of the earth and the dirt of
the stone soil, the same thing.
a stone by any other name would still not smell like a rose.
Who
All right,
said stone and soil
What
are the
about
same?
Rolling Stone. What?
like grave robbers? What do they steal exactly? You don't steal a corpse.
I don't know what grave robbers steal. You can
Yes,
have to
you
ask them.
do.
The Siv was written, they probably steal graves that are right away buried, buried, and there's
People
still
used to bury
full
money
bodies.
in.
Maybe they do it, yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Well, they steal properties that were buried with them. The Siv. So it says he burnt the Asherah and threw its ash upon the graves of the common people. Okay, so reading a pasuk from Malachim says there's a story where King Josiah, I guess that's Hosea, sought to purge idol worship from the land of Israel. All right, this section it says he burned an Asherah. That's a tree. Asherahs were the trees that they certain idols would pray to. That's why we don't plant trees by a synagogue where you can pray to. Not that we don't landscape, but you're not supposed to bury and stand like you know with Disney World. You want to do mincha, we should say go to a phone booth and daven there. If there was a tree, don't stand in front of the tree. Right? I haven't been in Disney World in a long time, so I don't know what's there. Probably go in the corner of a wall and not
I have
get
it
arrested.
at Cinderella's castle in the corner.
Yeah,
That's been
that really, Mama, sorry. So you just told us if you have to daven mincha at Disney World, go to Cinderella's castle in the corner. Is that like a regular meeting place? Do they have a sign, or it's just known among Gideon? Okay, it's known. That had been in the temple, and as an act of scorn, he scattered its ashes on the graves of those who would worship it. All right, now let's go weiter. Makish kever b'nei ha'adam la'avodas kochavim. So let's make a juxtaposing the mention of graves to the mention of the Asherah. The verse compares the graves of these common people to idolatry, where thereby taught just as in the case of idolatry, the law is that things that are attached to the earth do not become forbidden. So too, by the cases here, we say that, in other words, earth does not become forbidden. Okay. Shmuel continues, proving that objects of idolatry attached to the earth do not become forbidden. What's the pasuk? What does the sentence say? Ashertem Yorshim Osam Es Eloheim Al Hachorim Haramim. For it's written, you, this is in Devarim, shall utterly destroy all the places where the nations, meaning the idolatrous nations, that you were driving away, worship their gods on the high mountains and on the hills. Notice it says on the mountains and on the hills, not in the mountains and in the hills. From the language, our Harim Elohim, from this language, we infer to destroy their gods that are on the mountains. Lo Harim Elohim, but not their gods that are the mountains themselves. All right. In other words, the ground itself or anything secured to it cannot become forbidden, even if it's worship. It's an object of idolatry. Okay, give me a moment to just drink.
So a bracha before?
Yeah, before you came in late.
Have fun.
Hachanami, here too. See, you got caught by asking me that question.
Oh, I didn't get caught.
Here too. You did get caught. Here too. Hachanami. Then the same should apply with items associated with burial. B'mechuba lo mistamir. Nistasir. Whatever is attached to the earth doesn't become forbidden by virtue of being used for burial. Thus, the people who sought to heal themselves with the earth that we said that thus from Rav's graves never did any violation or no prohibition. So Shmuel's position is challenged, Meisvei. So they raised an objection. We're bringing a story. And every time we come to what we think is a conclusion in this Gemara, we bring a brisa or a story from somewhere else. We attempt to use it usually as an objection or showing that, no, we learned different somewhere else, and then we kind of mediate and litigate on the matter and come to some conclusion, or say that that refers to something else. You have a question? Yes. You don't have a question. Okay. No. All right. Raise your hand when you have a question, so I'll know, because that pensive thought that you
No,
have.
I'll tell you what here's what I was thinking.
Okay.
We learned that the objects that are used to execute someone are buried near his grave.
Correct.
And the rabbis made that area, made them tameh, because they were scared people would take it and use it. But this is coming to say, even though those objects may be tameh, the earth itself that's around the grave has not become tameh, and it can be used. That's what I assume this is.
An interesting point. Okay, I'm just going to repeat that in case people here didn't hear it.
We all heard it.
You all heard it? Okay, guess everyone heard it. All right. A chutz kevel aviv. Now, one digs a grave for his father, and afterwards he decides to bury him somewhere else. Now, what does it mean he dug a grave for his father? And when you see, do we mean that he like dug out a cave, which like Marasa Pale is underground, but he dug out a grave where the body would be buried on, or does it mean he dug out a grave in the ground, lined it with wood or something, so this was already officially designated? The whole thing the Gemara will go on for next page is designation. If something is designated for the person that's being buried, does it now make it prohibited for use? All right. Which actually Naphtali kind of gave us the segue into that when the stones and whatever methods of destruction we used, execution, were buried with the convicted person, all right, that they were prohibited, even though the dirt around the graves were permitted, which we just learned now. So thanks that you didn't realize, but that's a segue, because now we're going to say, go into the situation of the caver itself. All right. So this son, he made this burial plot for his father. All right. So, but now he moves his father to another grave, where he says the son may never himself be buried in that grave. So the first one, he can't be buried in it. He has to leave it empty. So seemingly this indicates, I'm just reading out here, that the restriction on burial items extend even to the earth of the grave itself. So initially, we're now going to question, Naphtali, what you just said. All right? Which you had said that it took the Rabbanan, the rabbis, to make an edict that you can't take, that those items of execution were not permitted. All right? Here now, but that's Rabbanan. Here we're saying, well, we're asking the question, maybe in the Torah itself, midaraisa from the Torah, that you're not allowed to do it. So what are we dealing with? Bekeva binyan. First of all, we're dealing in this case, God bless you, with a burial structure. In other words, it wasn't just being excavated from the ground. He built like a mausoleum, almost to say, or an ohel, all right, a structure, all right, over which or within which his father was buried. The Gemara again challenges Shmuel, Tashma, or it could be wood in the ground, all right, again, structural, more than just an excavated piece of land. Tashma, come learn the proof that even burial items. Oh, I got to tell you a story. No, I don't have time to tell you the story. All right, Tashma, come learn the proof that even burial items attached to the ground become forbidden for other uses. All right, now again, we're going to challenge this question. A brand new grave is dug. All right. It hasn't been designated for anyone yet. It's just a brand new grave. All right. So it should be permitted for benefit. All right. But what happens if one placed a stillborn in it? Guess what? It says stillborn, the grave becomes forbidden to derive benefit from it. Right. Now, just reminding you, I guess it was in Baba Basra, at some point we learned about burial plots, and we learned actually, there was maps and drawings in the Gemara of how they, the distance between the family plots of 3 graves and this and that. And then there was these little corner ones, and that was for children or stillborns. All right, but let's say they were going to bring a stillborn to bury there, and accidentally the stillborn fell into the larger plot. Where we see from this that the earth of the grave itself becomes forbidden. He says, I guess they were going to take the stillborn out of where it fell in this and go put it in where it should have been buried, he says. But now they're saying you can no longer use that gravesite, all right, that it accidentally fell into. Interesting. Gemara answers, here too we're dealing with the burial structure, not just an earthen grave. Thus, there's no indication as to whether the earth of a grave becomes forbidden. Says, no, this story with the stillborn also has to do with the structure that was there. All right. And with the structure, we say you can't use it. It's been designated, as opposed to non-structural where the earth is okay. Proof. So Gemara cites a third brisa in an attempt to refute Shmuel's law. It's almost like the Gemara had it in for Shmuel. I'm going to try last ditch effort, third 3 strikes and out. I'm going to see whether or not I can dispute you. Tashma, come and learn. Nimtza ataromir shalas kfarsein. Let's say there's 3 types of graves. Okay, 3 graves walk into a cemetery. All right, each one with a different law. All right, kever nimtza. All right, a grave that was found on one's property. All right, so guy's got property, he's going farming, and all of a sudden he comes with the plow and he finds that there's a grave there. That's case number 1. Kever yadua. So the second one is he's plowing his land. He says, well, watch that area over there. There's a grave site. All right, we know when to go around there. And Kever Masik is a rubbin. And the third is a grave that's situated in the main thoroughfare, so it's causing a problem. So everyone's walking down this main street, and right in the middle, there's a grave. Right, so the Kohanim have to, where they're going to start their detour from, this or that, right? So the question will be, which of these 3 graves can you move? Because they all seem to be in the middle of somewhere that's causing a situation. So the first one, you happen to find the grave. You had no idea was there, this and that. There you're allowed to disinter the body, all right, and transfer the corpse to another site. Pino. And if one doesn't empty it, Mekomo Tahor. All right. What do you mean one doesn't empty it? As a general rule, the rabbis decree the gravesite gives too many, even if the grave says, all right. So what we're saying here in that case, that once you've emptied it and you transfer the grave to the corpse to another site, that grave no longer is tamei. Right. It is back to just the earth of the land, and it's tamar, or I'm become a tamar. And you can use it for any benefit you want. All right. Keva Yadua, what about the second type, a known grave? Or also lefanaso. You're not allowed to disinter a known grave. You bought the property knowing that there's someone buried in their backyard in that place. That's a specific grave site. It's designated. You can't touch it.
Grant's tomb.
Grant's tomb, all right. Grant is not buried in Grant's tomb, at least the one that's in the Upper West Side of New York by the highway there. Of course, you would know that area, and of course, I knew that area. Pino, and if one does empty it, Mekomo Tamei, its place remains Tamei. All right, so if one does move that even though you move the corpse somewhere else, that area is still Tamei. All right, and you can't get any benefit out of it. So I know there's no reason really to move the body. Keva Mazik is a rubbin, but the third case where it's right in the middle of public, and it's harming the public in the sense that remember at that time people were still going to Beis Hamikdash. They had to remain pure. Kohanim had to be pure. The purity was part of living. All right, you can't go in. You're going there for Bikurim. It's the Shalosh Regalim. It's the Pesach Kashvuas. You bring in your sacrifice, and all of a sudden you go with your horse and wagon over the road and say, "Whoops! I didn't realize there's a graveside here." You just notify us. So that was very important. Guess what? That you can disinter, bury it somewhere else. All right, and now that place becomes Torah, becomes non. It's what's Torah in English?
Pure.
Pure. Thank you. Okay, but also, but remains forbidden to benefit. But even though it's pure, it remains forbidden to benefit from the empty grave. That's interesting for that addendum there, right? Because you would have thought that if it's pure, wait, no, I'm looking back. Kamotame, yeah, you would have thought that once it's pure, it should not. You could use it for anything, and it says no. You can't have enough from it. You can't have personal benefit. Naftali, you have any comment on that? Because it sounds like that's not the conclusion I would have come to here.
Ooh, conclusion you would have come to.
Hello.
Ty doesn't have to answer everything.
I hear you. I don't know.
I don't know either. Okay,
Yeah,
just
Ty
you
doesn't have
always look so perplexed. It
He's
sounds
not.
like you're trying to think.
got the principal look.
He's got a perplexed look.
He's got a
You
look of
got
a
the like,
principal.
I don't know what look like. I'm looking somewhere else look.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So it seems to indicate that the earth itself. Oh, now I know. The fact that it says that you can't have hana from it, the fact that put your hands out, stop imitating me. The fact that it says you can't you can't use it even though it's pure, that would show that the earth from the grave is forbidden. So this is a question on our last conclusion where we said the earth is not forbidden. So why is it that you can't have enough from it? That's a question. Right. So the answer is Hachanami Bekebe Binyan. Here too, we're dealing with a burial structure and not just earth and grave. So Sarah, we didn't realize what we're really dealing with. So Gemara, so that's the Grant's tomb. All right. So you can get rid of Grant's tomb, move it somewhere else. All right.
At least that's Grant.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Really?
Yeah. The Gemara now questions the law mentioned in the Bryce just quoted. So, but is it really permissible to take a found grave and move it somewhere else? Dilma Mace Mitzvah. What if this was actually a Mace Mitzvah? What if this was the story where, they found a dead body between two towns, and then they take the nearest town, that whole story of a dead corpse, that it's a mitzvah, it's a commandment to go and bury him right in that spot. And then they have to do a sacrifice. That's the Egla Rufa, right?
Yes, sir.
Where they crack the neck of the whatever the animal. What's an eagle in English? Calf.
A lion.
Calf. No,
Calf.
lion. Right.
Like
Umeis mitzvah kana mekamo. They said, and we know that the meis mitzvah, that corpse that's buried there. All right. It owns that area. All right, that it's buried in, so to say. You can't disinter that and move it anywhere else. All right, no matter who owns that land. All right, so asking question, what if that's actually the one you came across? It says that Gemara answers, that you said, I didn't know that there was someone buried here. He says, Shani Meis Mitzvah Kala Isla. He says, no. It can't be referring to a mace mitzvah to a situation of a dead body where was a mitzvah commandment to bury it, because when that happens, an announcement is made, to the town, because we're trying to find out, did anybody know this person, this, that, before they bury it, any relatives, who is it? And then they find out it's anonymous. So then nearest town is responsible for burying it.
So-
So you would have known about this, all right?
It's in all the papers.
Yeah, and if you weren't, you just moved into the town, you'd find out there's somebody else,
It's a local attraction.
All right. Okay.
Tourist
All right.
attraction.
Tomorrow. All right. All right. It was stated, all right, beggar mace. All right. What if someone is weaving tachlichin, all right, for a corpse, but he hasn't actually dressed the corpse in it yet? Meaning, we're dealing with a what do you call it? We're still on 47B. Oh my God, we didn't even start 47, 48. What if we started to sew a
Shrouds, burial shrouds.
Thank you. I keep on trying to make sure I say the same word in English as in Hebrew for anyone who's listening and might not know the Hebrew. So Abai says Asura. In which once a garment is dedicated to be used for something, in this case, a dead person, all right, then it becomes a forbidden garment to be used for something else, all right? So you can't go and take that according to Abai. Rabbi says it's okay. So the guy is sewing up a kittel. He's sewing up for himself because he plans to be buried in it. He's old, this and that. He wants to make sure there'll be a kittel around. And all of a sudden comes Yom Kippur, all right? And he says, where's my kittel? I don't have a kittel. Oh yeah, I have this kittel I made for when I'm buried. He can go take that, or someone else can say, can I borrow that? Yeah. Why? Because according to Rava, not according to Abai, Abai said to already dedicated for being used for the dead corpse, dead corpse. What other kind of corpse there is it? You know, for the dead person. All right. But Rava says no. And the good way to remember this, because we're repeating this a lot, is Abaye begins with an aleph. It's like Rabbi Smith always gives you this in the Matnik. Asura, prohibited, begins with an aleph. So every time I say Abaye, think it's not permitted. Okay, now go ahead. The Gemara explains the basis for this. Abaye Amar Asura. Abaye says it's Asura, it's forbidden. Hasmana Milso. Why? Because he holds that designation is significant. And you need designation. Once something is designated to be used for a specific purpose, in this case, for the mace, for a dead body, then that's significant, and you can't change that and use it for a non-kedusha purpose. And interesting, perhaps that whole first half of the page we learned where we were talking about hold on, it's kind of the opposite, but yet it's similar. When we said that the person who designated an animal to be a korban, all right, to be a sacrifice, and then he became nuts, so he became an apostate, all right, and then later on he got, well, can you use it? You might have thought, hey, you could use it. It was designated such, but you can't. But the Gemara says in the end, no, you can use it because in the interim, they transiently became nullified from that. I'm just saying, there is this fine thread that seems to constantly go through the Gemara. Or the Gemara is full of ADHD rabbis, all right? Because every time they try and stay on one subject, they say, hey, Dvar Torah, I know something else, All right.
Just threw all the rabbis in the bus.
No, I didn't throw them on the butts. I didn't say, hey, donuts. I said, hey, Dvar Torah. Attention deficit. Hey, Dvar Torah. All right. Muta. And Rabbi says, but remember the argument between Abai and Rabbi. Rabbi says, no, it's still okay, even though it was designated. All right. So the Gemara continues explaining how each of these Amoraim, Abai and Ravo, typically always argue, how they came and why they came to their respective conclusions. My time at Abai. So what's the reasoning of Abai that says Asur, Aleph, that he says it's not permitted once it's designated? He learns it from a Gezerah Shav, all right? He learns it from comparing to, biblically comparing with and we're allowed to do this. It was passed down. A gezerah shav. One word is used in one place, one word is used in another place, similar words. Now we compare what we learned in one of the sentences to what we learn in the other, and we make a comparison. So the word he uses is shum. The word means there. Shum is used by egla rufa, by the animal that's that head is, it's the neck is cracked. Whatever we do to it, we sacrifice by the mace mitzvah, by the person that we have to bury. All right, that we were talking about, the one that was found and no one laid claim. We don't know the anonymous person that died. All right, so there by egla rufa. All right, hold on a second. It says in Tehil, we're going to compare. One is in Numbers, is Bamidbar, the other is in Dvarim. All right, it says the word Sham. My Eglarufa, Basmana Mitarsa, just like Eglarufa becomes forbidden for all other uses through designation. In other words, once they designate this calf, that this is Egel, this is going to be used for, they sacrifice it, right? The Egla Rufa, am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So once they sacrifice, before the sacrifice, but once it's designated, it cannot be used for anything else. In other words, they can't make a switch. Hainami basmana mitarsa. So too, forbidden burial items, all right, once they're designated, they can't be used.
They
So
don't sacrifice it, they slaughter. Like they don't put on them as bad.
no, that's what I was trying to remember if we killed it. Yeah. So what? We make sure it's dead. No, for a moment I was thinking about the one that we push off the.
Oh yeah.
What's that called again? Yeah, the Sel Azazel. Yeah, is that one? It's not even checked. It's just, well, sorry, Charlie. Louise, what was your name? Thelma and Louise move. All right. Okay, push them. Go off the mountain cliff. All right. All right. Stop smiling out there, Naphtali. Right. Rava. Everyone else is saying, what is he talking about? All right. Rava. Gam sham yavadas kochavim. All right, so Abaye learns that it's prohibited because his gezerah shav comes from the Egla Arufa. All right. Now Rava expounds. He says it's allowed because he does it different. He says gezerah shav, linking the word there mentioned in connection with Miriam's burial to the word there mentioned in connection with accessories to idolatry. He therefore argues. So listen what he says. He says, just as an object that's an accessory to idol worship doesn't become forbidden merely because it's designated, because that's what's his opinion of mitarsa, so too items associated with burial do not become forbidden through mere designation. And what it is he's bringing his raya, he's bringing his proof from by Miriam. Am I getting? No, he's bringing it from when we destroy the items of someone who did idol worship. So, what we said, okay, what does it say there exactly? Do you have in the commentary? Rava's source. All right. Items the scripture states, he said, you shall utterly destroy all the places where the nations work there, except that this verse refers to utensils used for services of foreign gods. The places of worship themselves do not become forbidden. For explained as above, the earth itself cannot become prohibited. All right, so here, Rava uses that story to say just as utensils there cannot become forbidden, just like there, so over here, things that are designated, utensils, tachrichim, etc., don't become forbidden. So that's why Rava says it's okay. Rava, my time lo Gemara mi egla rufa. So why doesn't? So now this is typical Gemara. So once you've explained the two differences, you say, so why doesn't A learn from B, or what does he learn from B? And then, well, what does B learn from A? So Rava, then what does he learn from the story of Eglah Rufa? Malach. So at least now we can start what we should have started today. It's still going to be, will be 2 pages behind. Top of 48a. Mishamshim Gamrin. We should derive the law of accessories from the law of another accessory used from the service of idols. Lafuke Eglah Rufa. This excludes deriving the law from Eglah Rufa, the Gufa Kedosha. He says, no. He says, you can't use the Eglah Rufa as a proof like Abaye wanted to do, because the Eglah Rufa, it itself, all right, is a consecrated item. It itself is holy. It's not just designated to to become something later on. The moment it's designated, it now is it, baby.
Woo!
All right. It's so. Let's see what it says in it. The heifer. It is not an item that services something else. Rather, it has its own inherent significance in the Eglah Rufa ritual. All right. So it's not one step removed, right? The Gemara now considers Abaye's position. So now we're going to ask the same question, Abaye. But Abaye, my time alone, and Abaye, who you said it's prohibited, what did you learn? Or what do you learn from what Rava was using, the story of Avodas Kochavim? All right, items that are used, by idolatry. Malacha, Abaye would say to you, we should derive the law of something that is a normal procedure of a Jew from the law that's something else that is the way of a Jew. And this excludes deriving the law from idolatry to love orcha. All right, so his answer is, don't learn Judaism from the Goyim. That's what he says. Basically, he says, Jewish laws should be learned from other Jewish laws, from the Torah itself. Don't go bring me a proof of something that, but by non-Jews this is what it is, and therefore that's not how we learn. Okay, so that's his defense. The Gemara gives a mnemonic for some points in the following discussion. All right, there's a mnemonic, Kipa Nafshe, the Chatziva, the Chisa, Umana. All right, which basically says a kerchief, and we'll go over this exactly what we're referring to, a tomb structure that was hewn as opposed to just a excavated gravesite, slaughter, and a craftsman. All right, we'll do 5 more minutes and then we'll stop when we've been behind. Meisvei, they raised an objection to Rabbi's position from the following Mishnah. All right, so we're doing the first one. Kipa shu tamei midras, a kerchief that was tamei midras, and we learned about tamei midras. People remember we learned. For those of you who were here, we learned about Zav and Zava, all right, people like a woman, she wasn't have a nida, but she was having some sort of discharge, same with the man, all right, that if they sat on something, all right, I always remember this from Midrash because it sounded like the word mattress, all right, then that became Tameh, all right, the Sano Sefer, she gave it over to, all right, so it's saying in this case, what if her kerchief was a Tameh Midrash, all right, so the kerchief she had, all right, was Tameh because of a Zav reason, Zav, all right, and she gave it over to be used as a Torah scroll, all right, so she picked it up, and was this Tameh yet or not Tameh? Or was it? It was already Tameh, all right? And she then gave it over, says, you know what, but look, I have this, it's beautiful material. Go ahead and make it in Torah scroll. Torah mina midrash. It becomes Torah from the midrash Tumah. Says, then guess what happens? It's not Tameh. You now designate for a Torah, all right? Aval Tama Magas Midrash, but it means Tameh is having touched the Midrash. Where was it? This is a little confusing here. It says it's prohibited to sit on the cover of Torah scroll. Thus, this kerchief is no longer fit for use as a cushion, and therefore loses its status of Tumas Midrash and Atuma, and an Avatuma. Okay. Wait a minute,
Nevertheless-
what was it?
Nevertheless, the kerchief retains the lesser level of tuma of a utensil that has touched a midras.
Okay, so let's go over the real case. So she had a very fancy material. This material became tamei as a zav, from zav. So it was a tamei midras, as the Gemara will refer to. All right. Then she says, you know what? I'm not going to use this. I'm giving it over. Make it for a Torah scroll. All right. Once it's made as a Torah scroll, it's no longer a tamei midras. It's no longer an avatuma, meaning because that's it. A tamei midras is a primary source for tuma. It lost that primary. Nonetheless, if it's not being used as a tamei midras, all right. So it says now we see here that the kerchief lost its tamei midras through an act of mere designation. So this whole story is just trying to prove that if you designate something, all right, then it becomes what it's designated. So because this became designated to be used as a cover for the Torah scroll, all right, that designation is significant. That makes it a kaddish, and therefore it loses whatever was before. The Gemara answers, "Amen the sano or choraso," right? When she gave it over, why don't you just say she gave it over but wait a minute. It says when she gave it over, she also wrapped it around the Torah scroll. It wasn't just that she designated it, but she designated it and also used it as a Torah cover, all right? Let's say it was make it a little bit easier, a belt, all right? A nice cushiony belt. She not only said this will be the, here, you have, what do you call it? Galila, all right? All right, this is to be used for Golel the Torah, all right? But she now gave it for that, but she says, here, let me show you. And they went and Megalo the Torah with it. This is not talking about Lubavitch way, but just put it, after you put the Torah scroll, putting the belt around the Torah, she used in this capacity as its designation. All right. So we're going to stop here because it's time to daven, but we're up to the point trying to define designation. Is designation designated just by the fact that we use the word, I designate this, or does it require an act of designation to designate this? All right. So we're going to continue. Lama and the son of Ukrasa. All right. So Lamalay is where we're continuing tomorrow. Do you have that written down? Lamalay. All right. And I'm sorry we're behind. Could you stop that noise?
Oh, clapping. I'm
Okay.
used to it.
Naftali, thank you for being here. And anybody else that joined, David, Eliezer.
Thank you, Rennie.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you,
I
Rennie.
have a
Have a great
question.
day.
I have a question. Before
Who's that?
Hi, Rennie.
David.
Class is over. Davening
Hi,
is
Rennie.
Davening now. Say the
Kach.
Save the question. Send it
Save
to
it.
me. I'll
A
try
text.
and
A
answer it.
text.
I gotta go
Yes.
to Davin.
Just,
You're the
was
best.
it
I
dirt
gotta go
designated or
Davin.
not?
I gotta go Davin.
Bye.